Welcome to Fluent Career English. Today we are going to practice a very important workplace communication skill. Our topic today is how to communicate clearly with coworkers in English. This lesson is designed for A2, B1 English learners who want to improve their workplace communication and speak more confidently in professional situations. In many workplaces, people communicate with coworkers every day. You may discuss projects, ask questions, share updates, or solve problems together. Clear communication helps teams work efficiently and avoid misunderstandings. However, if communication is unclear, even small problems can become bigger issues. In this lesson, you will learn how to explain ideas clearly, ask questions politely, and communicate effectively with coworkers. You will practice workplace conversations, useful vocabulary, sentence patterns, and speaking exercises. When you see the word repeat, say the sentence out loud so you can practice your speaking. Let's begin with a simple workplace conversation. Sophia, how do you usually communicate with your coworkers during a project?
I usually share updates about my tasks and ask questions when I need clarification.
That is a great approach.
Clear communication helps everyone understand their responsibilities.
Exactly. Now let's practice explaining that idea. Clear communication helps teams work more effectively. Clear communication helps teams work more effectively. Sharing updates allows coworkers to understand project progress. Sharing updates allows coworkers to understand project progress. Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings. Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's learn a useful communication structure. When communicating with coworkers, professionals often follow 3 steps. First, explain the situation. Second, share information clearly. Third, invite discussion. Let's practice. I would like to share an update about the project. I would like to share an update about the project. The team has completed the first phase successfully. The team has completed the first phase successfully. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. Excellent. Now let's listen to another workplace conversation. Sophia, imagine you need to ask a coworker for help with a task. What would you say?
I would explain the situation and ask politely for assistance.
That is a professional approach.
For example, I might say that I need help reviewing some information.
Excellent. Let's practice expressing that request. I would appreciate your help reviewing this document. I would appreciate your help reviewing this document. Your feedback could help improve the final report. Your feedback could help improve the final report. Please let me know if you have time to discuss this task. Please let me know if you have time to discuss this task. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's learn some useful vocabulary for communicating with coworkers. Update. An update is new information about progress. I would like to provide an update on the project progress. I would like to provide an update on the project progress. Clarification. Clarification means making something easier to understand. I would like some clarification about the project instructions. I would like some clarification about the project instructions. Collaboration. Collaboration means working together with others. Collaboration helps teams achieve better results. Collaboration helps teams achieve better results. Excellent. Now let's practice another workplace scenario. Sophia, imagine a coworker asks you about the status of a task. How would you respond?
I would explain what has been completed and what still needs to be done.
That is clear communication.
I would also explain if the team needs additional time or support.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that response. I would like to provide an update about the task progress. I would like to provide an update about the task progress. The first part has been completed successfully. The first part has been completed successfully. We are currently working on the next step. We are currently working on the next step. Excellent speaking practice. Now it is your turn to practice speaking. Imagine you are talking with a coworker about a project. Explain what task you are working on and what progress you have made. You can start like this. I am currently working on an important project task. I am currently working on an important project task. The first stage has been completed and the next step is in progress. The first stage has been completed and the next step is in progress. If you have suggestions or feedback, I would be happy to discuss them. If you have suggestions or feedback, I would be happy to discuss them. Excellent. Now let's discuss a common mistake when communicating with coworkers. Sometimes people give unclear explanations. For example, someone might say this: "The project is almost done." This statement is vague and may create confusion. A stronger response provides more information. The first phase of the project has been completed successfully. The first phase of the project has been completed successfully. The team is currently working on the second phase. The team is currently working on the second phase. We expect to complete the project by the end of the week. We expect to complete the project by the end of the week. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice a shadowing round. Listen carefully and repeat the sentences naturally. Clear communication helps coworkers understand tasks and responsibilities. Clear communication helps coworkers understand tasks and responsibilities.
Sharing updates helps teams stay organized. Sharing updates helps teams stay organized.
Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings. Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings.
Therefore, effective communication improves teamwork. Therefore, effective communication improves teamwork.
Excellent speaking practice. Now let's continue the conversation. Sophia, why is communication important for teamwork?
Because communication helps people share ideas and solve problems together.
That is correct.
When coworkers communicate clearly, projects become easier to manage.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. Communication helps teams collaborate and solve problems effectively. Communication helps teams collaborate and solve problems effectively. Sharing ideas helps coworkers find better solutions. Sharing ideas helps coworkers find better solutions. Therefore, strong communication is essential in the workplace. Therefore, strong communication is essential in the workplace. Excellent. Let's continue practicing how to communicate clearly with coworkers in English. In this part of the lesson, we will focus on workplace meetings, sharing ideas, and asking questions professionally. In many workplaces, coworkers communicate during meetings to share updates and discuss tasks. Speaking clearly during meetings helps teams stay organized and make better decisions. Let's begin with a workplace scenario. Sophia, imagine you are in a team meeting and you want to share an update about your task. What would you say?
I would explain the progress and mention what still needs to be completed.
That is a clear and professional approach.
I would also ask if the team has any suggestions.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. I would like to provide an update about the task I am working on. I would like to provide an update about the task I am working on. The first part has been completed, and I am currently working on the next stage. The first part has been completed, and I am currently working on the next stage. Please let me know if you have any suggestions or feedback. Please let me know if you have any suggestions or feedback. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another important communication skill, asking questions. Asking clear questions helps coworkers understand tasks and expectations. Let's listen to another conversation. Sophia, imagine you are unsure about the instructions for a task. What would you say to your coworker?
I would ask for clarification.
That is a professional response.
Clear questions help prevent mistakes.
Exactly. Let's practice asking for clarification. Could you please clarify the instructions for this task? Could you please clarify the instructions for this task? I want to make sure I understand the requirements correctly. I want to make sure I understand the requirements correctly. Your explanation will help me complete the work more accurately. Your explanation will help me complete the work more accurately. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another workplace situation. Sometimes coworkers need to discuss ideas and suggestions during a project. Sophia, how would you share an idea during a team discussion?
I would explain the idea and ask for feedback.
That is a great strategy.
Collaboration helps teams improve their solutions.
Excellent. Let's practice expressing that idea. I would like to share an idea that might improve the project process. I would like to share an idea that might improve the project process. This approach could help the team complete tasks more efficiently. This approach could help the team complete tasks more efficiently. I would appreciate hearing the team's thoughts about this suggestion. I would appreciate hearing the team's thoughts about this suggestion. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's learn more useful vocabulary for workplace communication. Discussion. A discussion is a conversation about a topic. Our team had a discussion about improving the project process. Our team had a discussion about improving the project process. Suggestion. A suggestion is an idea for improvement. I would like to share a suggestion that might help the team. I would like to share a suggestion that might help the team. Feedback. Feedback means comments or advice about work. Feedback from coworkers can help improve the quality of our work. Feedback from coworkers can help improve the quality of our work. Excellent. Now let's practice another realistic workplace scenario. Sophia, imagine a coworker asks you to explain your progress on a task. How would you respond?
I would explain what has been completed and what the next steps are.
That is very clear communication.
I would also mention if I need any support from the team.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that response. I would like to provide an update on my current progress. I would like to provide an update on my current progress. The main task has been completed, and I am now reviewing the results. The main task has been completed, and I am now reviewing the results. If the team has suggestions, I would be happy to discuss them. If the team has suggestions, I would be happy to discuss them. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's discuss another common mistake when communicating with coworkers. Sometimes people speak too quickly or give incomplete information. For example, someone might say this: "The project is done." This explanation may create confusion. A better response provides more details. "The main part of the project has been completed successfully." The main part of the project has been completed successfully. The team is now reviewing the results and preparing the final report. The team is now reviewing the results and preparing the final report. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another shadowing round. Listen carefully and repeat the sentences naturally. Clear communication helps coworkers understand tasks and expectations. Clear communication helps coworkers understand tasks and expectations.
Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings during projects. Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings during projects.
Sharing ideas during discussions can improve teamwork. Sharing ideas during discussions can improve teamwork.
Therefore, effective communication supports successful collaboration. Therefore, effective communication supports successful collaboration.
Excellent speaking practice. Now let's continue the conversation. Sophia, why is listening important when communicating with coworkers?
Because listening helps people understand different perspectives.
That is correct.
When people listen carefully, they can respond more effectively.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. Listening carefully helps coworkers understand each other better. Listening carefully helps coworkers understand each other better. Understanding different perspectives can improve teamwork. Understanding different perspectives can improve teamwork. Therefore, listening is an important communication skill. Therefore, listening is an important communication skill. Excellent. In this final section, we will practice longer conversations about communicating clearly with coworkers. You will learn how to share updates, solve problems together, and communicate effectively during challenging situations. Clear communication is especially important when teams face difficulties or misunderstandings. Professionals usually focus on clarity, respect, and teamwork when discussing challenges. Let's begin with a workplace conversation. Sophia, imagine you are working on a project and you notice that two coworkers misunderstood part of the task. What would you do?
I would explain the situation clearly and review the instructions with the team.
That is a great approach.
I would also ask if anyone has questions so we can avoid further confusion.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. I would like to review the task instructions with the team to ensure everyone understands the process. I would like to review the task instructions with the team to ensure everyone understands the process. I noticed that there may have been a misunderstanding regarding the task requirements. I noticed that there may have been a misunderstanding regarding the task requirements. Let's clarify the steps together so the project can move forward smoothly. Let's clarify the steps together so the project can move forward smoothly. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another workplace scenario. Sometimes coworkers need to collaborate to solve a problem. Sophia, imagine the team is facing a challenge with a project deadline. How would you communicate with your coworkers?
I would explain the situation and suggest working together to find a solution.
That is excellent teamwork communication.
I would also encourage the team to share ideas.
Excellent. Let's practice expressing that response. I would like to discuss a challenge related to the project deadline. I would like to discuss a challenge related to the project deadline. If we collaborate and share ideas, we can find an effective solution. If we collaborate and share ideas, we can find an effective solution. Working together will help us complete the project successfully. Working together will help us complete the project successfully. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another professional communication situation. Sometimes coworkers may have different opinions during discussions. Sophia, how would you respond if you disagree with a coworker's idea?
I would express my opinion respectfully.
That is very professional.
I would also explain my reasoning clearly.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. I understand your perspective. However, I would like to suggest another approach. I understand your perspective. However, I would like to suggest another approach. This alternative solution may help us complete the task more efficiently. This alternative solution may help us complete the task more efficiently. I would appreciate hearing the team's thoughts on this idea. I would appreciate hearing the team's thoughts on this idea. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's learn a few additional communication phrases that are useful when working with coworkers. Let's review the plan together. Let's review the plan together. I would appreciate your feedback on this idea. I would appreciate your feedback on this idea. Please let me know if you have any questions about the task. Please let me know if you have any questions about the task. Excellent. Now let's practice a longer workplace conversation. Sophia, imagine your team is discussing a project update. How would you share your progress with coworkers?
I would explain what tasks I completed and what I am currently working on.
That is a clear explanation.
I would also mention if I need support from the team.
Excellent. Let's practice expressing that response. I would like to share an update about my progress on the project. I would like to share an update about my progress on the project. I completed the first stage, and I am currently reviewing the next steps. I completed the first stage, and I am currently reviewing the next steps. If the team has suggestions, I would be happy to discuss them. If the team has suggestions, I would be happy to discuss them. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's discuss another common mistake when communicating with coworkers. Sometimes people assume others understand their message even when the explanation is unclear. For example, someone might say this: "Everything is ready." This statement may cause confusion because it does not explain what is ready. A better response provides more detail. The first phase of the project is complete and the report has been prepared. The first phase of the project is complete and the report has been prepared. The team can now review the results and provide feedback. The team can now review the results and provide feedback. Excellent speaking practice. Now let's practice another shadowing round. Listen carefully and repeat the sentences naturally. Clear communication helps coworkers understand responsibilities and expectations. Clear communication helps coworkers understand responsibilities and expectations.
Sharing ideas during discussions improves teamwork. Sharing ideas during discussions improves teamwork.
Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings during projects. Asking questions helps prevent misunderstandings during projects.
Therefore, strong communication skills are essential for successful teamwork. Therefore, strong communication skills are essential for successful teamwork.
Excellent speaking practice. Now let's have one final conversation. Sophia, why do you think communication is important in professional environments?
Because communication helps people share information and work together effectively.
That is correct.
When coworkers communicate clearly, teams can complete projects more successfully.
Excellent explanation. Let's practice expressing that idea. Communication helps teams collaborate and solve problems effectively. Communication helps teams collaborate and solve problems effectively. Clear explanations allow coworkers to understand tasks and responsibilities. Clear explanations allow coworkers to understand tasks and responsibilities. Therefore, strong communication skills are essential for professional success. Therefore, strong communication skills are essential for professional success. Excellent. Now it is time for the final speaking challenge. Imagine you are talking with your coworkers about a project. Explain how you communicate with your team and share updates about your work. Listen to this example answer. I communicate regularly with my coworkers to ensure everyone understands the project goals. I communicate regularly with my coworkers to ensure everyone understands the project goals. I share updates about my tasks and ask questions when clarification is needed. I share updates about my tasks and ask questions when clarification is needed. Clear communication helps our team collaborate and complete projects successfully. Clear communication helps our team collaborate and complete projects successfully. Now it is your turn. Describe how you communicate with coworkers and why communication is important for teamwork. Take a moment and say your answer out loud. Excellent work. Today you practiced how to communicate clearly with coworkers, share updates, ask questions, and collaborate during workplace discussions. These communication skills are extremely valuable for teamwork, leadership, and professional development. The more you practice these conversations, the more confident you will become when speaking English in professional situations. Thank you for learning with us on Fluent Career English. Keep practicing, keep improving, and keep building your confidence in English for your career.